Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, call hello Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash. And once again, double honors go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of GreatMillStone who do well. I'd like to send salutations out to the fellow Akim that are out there on the highways and the byways, pushing the truth across four corners of this earth. And the evidence of that is, well, pretty clear by now because they're nervous. But we do this trying to wake up the remaining, hopefully elect, because as we always say, and as the prophecies say, more importantly, time is short. All right, so this is now I'm with the DC camp on GreatMillStone. Back for another video, and in this one, like we've always tried to tell you, but some of you, and it's not amazing to me, I understand why, you have yet to understand just how bad it's going to get for our people out here, and how we have always been the target. All right, we have been the target. Attention has been focused on us because they know who we really are. All right, and when you really think about it, when you're able to shut out all these distractions, because clearly the time we are now, this is full of shit that's just thrown out there just to distract you from what's really going on. P. Diddy is a big one. All right. But all this information coming out, and let's be clear. People have known for years what's been going on. Now everybody wants to suddenly, oh, I'm shocked that this is. No, but when it comes to our people, we've been tricked into accepting certain things that are being pushed on us, and the judge is going to go into this. And we just sit back and say, well, you know, it ain't got nothing to do with me. Don't bring it this way, you know, and that was definitely the wrong attitude to have. And these people, hey, going back all the way to Willie Lynch, they've known how to deal with us, how to manipulate us. All right. Know what buttons to push and when to push them. All right. We're actually in a bad way. And a lot of us have gotten so caught up in this world trying to pursue what you think is the is happiness. All right, so-called American dream and all that bullshit. And clearly, whether you've noticed it or not, you know, it's just turned sour in a big way. So let's go ahead and roll this. You know, my little rant at the beginning here, and oh yeah, he's gonna go deep. And for once, you have a host that's gonna let him talk. All right, so let's go.
All right.
Turn the volume up here.
How are you, Judge Brown? Thank you so much, Judge, for agreeing to come on and chat with me this evening. It is an absolute privilege for me to sit down with you. You're such an icon, and I just want to say thank you, since I have watched you from afar since your departure from reality TV, and so much has happened to our country since then. We went from being this nation of free speech and religious freedom to a nation run by this select group of elites who are just thirsty for power. And these people, what I've noticed, they will do anything to obtain power and to keep it. So you've been very vocal about a number of topics. I've heard you discuss your incredible disdain and disappointment with the political left, particularly the Democrat Party. So for that reason, I am interested in hearing from you your thoughts on the black community. As you know, the black community right now, they are by and large very, very invested with the Democrat Party. So I'd like to know, how do you feel about the black community's relationship with the Democrat
Listen
Party?
to this.
Their program. About more than 50 years ago, I was an intern with the DC think tank, and one of my assignments was to research what they called the slave pamphlets. They were pamphlets I think the earliest one I read was 1706. It was by a William Lynch. And by the way, there really was such a person, but he didn't write a letter. He wrote a bunch of them in a lot of pamphlets, and he was on a circuit up until about 1726, going from Bermuda to the Bahamas to Jamaica to Barbados to the English colonies in North America, other English colonies. And he lectured on how to raise slaves for fun and profit, so to speak. One of the things that was very interesting that was repeated over and over in these slave pamphlets up through the Civil War was that the best way to deal with slavery, to ensure that your slaves were sound and good, obedient slaves, was to subtly interject into the Negro's culture elements of slavery, so they would teach themselves to be slaves and would be responsive to certain signals. In other words, like training a horse. And William Lynch did pioneer that. And what's going on right now is the party that was formed in the second decade of the 1800s to protect, promote, and spread slavery, that, as the commercial you just got through playing was reiterating, fought the Civil War to keep it, then had Jim Crow, Reconstruction, and all the rest of it, segregation. And they simply remembered that they knew how to control Negroes. Like Biden says, he knows the Negro. And he took advantage of the fact that they are evoking the program. A lot of what we do makes us very conducive to being slaves. Like one thing, we never get taught free will. We get taught the exact opposite. And the other thing is, as Christians, you ought to appreciate that there is a new religion that's being spread with zeal and zealotry that all the rest of the old-time religions were spread with. This one has no God, though. It's like Buddhism, where you don't need that.
Now, before he gets in to what he's going to say here, should be common sense. It should be evident where he's going. Again, targeting us to deliver the message. Even gave you a president that, for some reason, you thought he was going to do for you what others before him wouldn't do. And yet, you were tricked into doing exactly what they wanted. And what was that? What's this new religion?
You need to have a God, but you can have one. It's a system of philosophy. It's an ancient and honorable religion, so is Confucianism. But this one is what I call the cult of the rainbow.
There you go.
You have its acolytes and disciples, its new converts, and they're trying to convert the United States of America to this new religion and convert the rest of the world. And everybody who doesn't go along with them, they are heretics, they blaspheme, and they should be burned at the stake in the modern sense. And you see no crucifixes in schools and government buildings. You see no six-pointed Jewish stars. You see no crescents for Islam. You do not see six-armed Shiva for the Hinduism. You don't see statues of Buddha, but you see the rainbow all up and down the school corridors. You see them all plastered all over public streets and crosswalks. You see the White House bathed in these lights. You see a co-option of Black History Month with Gay Achievement Month in February. You see Gay Pride Month overlapping when they decided to get Juneteenth, which has changed from a red, white, and blue emblem to a fist that is rainbow colored. You see this. And you listen to Walt Disney and they'd make you think that 50% of the public is gay, which it's not. And we're not really talking about gay folks so much as we're talking about this cult. I mean, frankly, to be...
And this is how they did it, because knowing, again, who we are, all right, this whole thing is designed for Jake to keep going off because they know it's not so much big things like, because as the scriptures say, you break one, you break them all. Pretty simple, right? All right, so this thing is set up to keep Jake going off, disobeying the law, statutes, commandments. This is Proverbs. Let me put it up here so you can see it. All right, let's go to Proverbs 7. In fact, we might have to go up to the top. Warning against the adulteress, right? Because let's face it, big thing here is idolatry. And like he said, you got certain philosophies, all right? And Jake is, the changing of the music. He knows how to come at Jake. Like I said, what did Biden say? I know the Negro. And he was right to bring out Willie Lynch and all these things. And they tell you, oh, that's conspiracy. No. These things actually happen. All you have to do is go into the history and all the things, the black codes and all this, all that. But see, the thing is, a lot of our people, and this is something else they know, are too lazy to look up this stuff for themselves. Despite having these personal, supercomputers that you carry with you every day. All right. Proverbs 71, my son, keep my words and lay up my commandments with thee. Now, who is he talking to? Is he talking about everybody on the planet, or is he talking about a specific people? It's the latter. This was never meant for everyone. Again, this is something they know. Keep my commandments and live. And this is something that's repeated throughout the scriptures. And my law is the apple of thine eye, which Jake does not do. Bind them upon thy fingers, write them upon the table of thine heart. Say unto wisdom, thou art my sister, and call understanding thy kinswoman, that they may keep thee from the strange woman. This strange woman that is talking about is these philosophies and doctrines of our enemy. From the stranger which flattereth with her words. All these, you think back to Genesis 3rd chapter. How is the devil going to come to you? How is the wicked one going to come to you? Are they going to come to you like a monster? No. No. They're going to flatter you. They're going to come with enticing words. They're going to come looking all beautiful. And that's how they're going to come to you. All right? For at the window of my house I looked through my casement. All right? And beheld among the simple ones, hey, Jake, since we're in Proverbs, Jeremiah 4:22, right? Sought his children. All right. I discerned among the youths a young man void of understanding. All right. Passing through the street near her corner, and he went the way to her house in the twilight, in the evening, in the black and dark night. And behold, there met him a woman with the attire of an harlot and subtle of heart. All right. And as it says here in the commentary, it says the design of the teaching. What are you being taught? And these Kemet people keep talking about, well, the woman is the first teacher, blah, blah. But what is she teaching? All right. And they made sure, since he mentioned Willie Lynch, I believe somewhere in the letter that I'm sure a majority of people that know what's going on have read, it's something in there about how the woman is set up to where she's instructing the young, because it's something about, how did the wording go? It makes for good economics. So all this shit was planned out. Jake don't get it. You keep thinking you're free and all that. No. You were brought over here to serve. First of all, this is the Most High behind all this, for we're being punished. This so-called white man's just a tool. All right. He thinks he's got it on because he can use people. All right. And use people like Diddy. Those are his tools. to spread his philosophy, his doctrine. All these celebrities that are set up that you just keep Jake from knowing who they really are. And we're out there, according to 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 4 and 5. All right, to break down all these lies, these strongholds, so to speak. All right. But no, so much resistance. But again, that's scriptural. That's prophecy. It's all in here. It says that was going to happen. All right, continuing on.
To be candid, gay folk, go get your freak on in your bedroom. Now, pastors, I can't find anything in the Old Testament or the New where that is smiled upon.
Yep, Leviticus 18 and 20th chapter.
And I'm not going to insult anybody by trying to quote scripture.
New Testament, Romans 1st chapter.
There certainly about the horror of somebody doing what resulted in the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah.
2 Peter 2nd chapter.
We do have places of worship, Christian worship, where prancing around in front of the preacher, in front of the pulpit, are the little spastic boys who are not in time with the music, and they like to get patted on their behinds by the choir director, and the choir director is a little suspect, but we won't go there right now. But I'm talking about something else. This rainbow cult. And by the way, there are a lot of gay folk that don't like it because this rainbow cult embraces pedophilia, which is a really horrible thing.
We try to tell you. They're trying to get that legalized.
Sexualization of children, which is a very bad thing. And it deals with this transsexual thing where you disregard what God sent you here to be, and you escape your responsibilities as a man or escape your responsibilities as a woman,
which
is be something else. And the easiest way to define this or illustrate it is let's say the next time the Titanic goes down, instead of saying, "Ma'am, you have my seat on the lifeboat, you and your child," some clown in a dress is trying to throw the woman out of the seat in the lifeboat and take it because he declares he's a woman to escape manly responsibility. Or you get a female trying to play man and escape her responsibility. You see, we're all here to do God's work about continuing into the next generation. And that requires everyone to do their part. Now, these days with science, technology.
But what does this devil say? He labels it alternative lifestyles. This is an alternative. You're dealing with a whole race of psychopaths. They are the wicked indeed. That's Psalms 58th chapter, verses 2, 3, and 4. From the womb, it tells you that they're no good. So all you so-called Christians out there, it's an exercise in futility. If the Most High hates them, who are you?
Thermostats and microwaves and cell phones and electronic devices and computers, we kind of forget the basics. But that's what's out there. They're trying to create a new religion. Now, the fact of the matter is in the United States, from the last census that was taken, about little less than 0.5% are trans, little less than 1% are lesbian, and a little less than 1.5% are homosexual males.
But if you're paying attention to the media,
a little bit more when you throw in the 3 to 4% that have swung both ways, but that's a very small percentage of the American public. But they're trying to use propaganda tactics to make the public think it's wider spread than it is. They're using the media to spread the lie that this is supposed to be a normal thing. It's not. In the medical and psychiatric and psychological professions are very much against it, but they don't get heard.
Yep.
Now, what we have is...
We kept telling you that they changed that, when was it, 73? Let me see if I can find it here. Hold on. Let's see. Sexuality. Let's see. All right, hold on. There we go. All right, homosexuality and psychology. The field of psychology has extensively studied homosexuality as a human sexual orientation. The American Psychiatric Association listed homosexuality in the DSM in 1952 as a sociopathic personality disturbance. But that classification came under scrutiny in research funded by the National Institute of Mental. Who do you think was behind all this? And I'm going to let the judge answer that, but think about this. That research and subsequent studies consistently failed to produce any empirical or scientific basis for regarding homosexuals as anything other than a natural and normal sexual orientation that is a healthy and positive expression of human sexuality. And here's what happened. As a result of this scientific research, the American Psychiatric Association removed homosexuality from the DSM-2. Remember, the DSM-1 in 52 classified it as a sociopathic personality disturbance. But in 73, the DSM-2, all right, they removed that from the DSM. Wow. And when you understand where in the that demonic Talmud, it talks about them folks talk about the 8 genders, like ding, ding, ding. All right, and again, I'm not going to jump the gun, well, any much more than I already have, and let him tell you what's going on here. All right, let's see, where was I? Here we go.
The Democratic Party was selected about 50 years ago by the antecedents to this cult. And what they decided was that since the Democratic Party was trying to seduce black people back when by pushing so-called civil rights, because it became rather functional, and it also, believe it or not, liberated the Southern white that had been the subject of the Democratic Party's attentions for so long. So it got associated with civil rights and protection of the Bill of Rights, due process of law and such things. The Republican Party got caught somewhere in the early part of the 20th century and the late part of the 19th with big business and high finance. You kind of neglected the ordinary person. Actually, in 1851, when it was incorporated,
she taking notes.
It was chartered for the purpose of abolition, to end slavery and its spread. But somewhere along the lines, they kind of lost their soul. But they are finding it again, and now instead of being the party that sort of steps on the Bill of Rights because it got in the way of law and order, they are beginning to discover that the rainbow cult is stomping on the Bill of Rights because it gets in the way of them spreading their new cult.
Again, and this is a result of when it was just us, as usual, nobody gives a fuck. But now that it's affecting them, what he just said, oh, now it's a problem. Now we got to get involved because it's gone too far. All right, let me get real quick. Let me get Isaiah 29, and I will start at 14, I believe it is. No, it is 15. It says, woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Most High, whose name is Yahweh. And their works are in the dark. And they say, who seeth us, and who knoweth us? A lot of this was going on in this latest uh, incidents of, when they try to use Jake, when Jake goes, wrong or whatever have you. Now everybody's all, well, we got to do something about this. But you've known all these people, Epstein and all these others, which again he's going to get to, that have been doing this for so long, and all these high-ranking officials and celebrities that were involved. But hey, now everybody wants to pretend they're in a panic mode. What are we going to do? And this is what's so dangerous. But you keep saying you worried about Diddy, but he made his decision to rub elbows with those, with them sort of people. He's just a tool to them. Another one that's going to be broken. Whether it's permanent, we'll see. But anyway, 16. Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding? This world, as a result of the mindset of the West, all right, is fucked up. It's backwards. That Western mentality that in America is, hey, everyone knows that the Europeans are some freaks. They're like, no, you're the freak. Oh, no, you're the freak. But then they all despise the American Edomite. Get a load of that. That's why this place, all right, is going to be that glaring example. The altar, the sacrifice, that's here, that's America. All right. Yes. All right, so let's go back to the video.
And they're beginning to appreciate it. You see lawfare these days, which is getting absolutely ridiculous, and you see a more frightening thing with how much the mainstream media has gotten on board with this program and functions as the main propaganda engine for the whole thing. There is a fundamental property of propaganda, which is tell a lie long enough and loud enough, and you can get anyone, including the liar, to believe it. And we've had a lot of that. So one
Judge,
little brief more thing, and then
go ahead.
Go ahead. One little last thing. Mm-hmm. They took this over back in they started this movement in the late 60s. There was a cabal of females that hated that they weren't males. Feminists. There was a bunch that hated men because they were lesbians. There were some boys who hated strong men because they were weak. And there was some homosexual men that hated that they weren't normal men. And there were a lot of people back in the 60s, since the Nam was going on, that hated that it was a man thing that caused war, they said. Love make love, not war. So you got this development of unisex child rearing, no war toys, no cap pistols, no water guns. Boys can play with dolls. You got the rise of Ken to accompany Barbie, and those were formed off on the boys. And then you got G.I. Joes, which nominally came across as toy soldiers, but were you...
Just 1 second, because I just remembered something that he talked about, make love, not war. Talking about, and that's that hippie era, and that's that spirit from, when it comes to these Edomites, these so-called white people from ancient times, all right? Because they were known to be some nasty individuals. And I remember seeing footage, and depending on where it's shown, they're not going to show you, but I remember seeing old videos of, motherfuckers going around butt-ass naked in Woodstock, and there's Jake right among them doing the same damn thing. That's Jake's problem, all right? Always falling behind these, that's, but always want to do, follow along and in line with what your, like Scripture says, envy not the oppressor. All right, you know, I'll get that in just a second. Let me go ahead and talk.
Were used for something else to acclimate the young males to the idea of playing with dolls like the girls rather than just toy soldiers type stuff. Because remember, war is evil. No cap pistols, no water pistols, none of that. So it was an entirely different type of thing than playing soldier. Now, we also got blaxploitation, where Hollywood was saving its movie industry, from going broke by using this newly appreciated market. And instead of doing something that was uplifting, they decided to go to the lowest common denominator and glorify.
This is Proverbs 3. Let's see. And 31, it says, envy thou not the oppressor. It's not the so-called white man our oppressor. And choose none of his ways. But no, Jake does the opposite. And you wonder why we're in the position, the predicament we're in. All right, like I said, this piece of crap, you know, Psalm 17 chapter, he is a tool. All right, he was set up to do what he's doing to us as a way to instruct us. All right, because we're being chastised, that's a good thing. Unlike him, see, he's got it backwards. Well, nothing's ever happening to me. There's warnings about that. There's scriptures regarding that. So let him continue to think that. But we're after Jake. That's why we're out here on the highways and byways. All right? We're a threat. Not the way a lot of you think or might hope, because you're carnal. You don't see the spiritual implications. All right, can't be carnal. Not with this. Not with this. These people. The blessing that they were given by the Most High. That would be foolish. All right. What's the other one I had? Let's see. Let's go to Jeremiah. Let's see. Ooh. Let's see. This is Jeremiah 2 and 33. Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? Another problem that Jake has. Seeking love from, or trying to, from people that despise you. Because in the spirit, they know that, hey, this is all for them, you know. Even if they're not familiar with the story, they know that we are different from them. But this all goes back to them trying to get that birthright that they sold in Genesis 25th chapter. And it's not going to happen. All right? Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways. Why? And that's Jake. When you think about this scripture, think of how a harlot, a prostitute, what they do. All right? All right? So just keep that in mind. That's Jake to the oppressor. Choose me, hey, and you go out of your way to appease them. That's so very wrong. And it never turns out, you know, Lamentations. All right? And other scriptures. It's a futile effort. It's an effort in futility. Because they hate, they despise us.
Provide dysfunction. Pimps, hoes, drug dealers, and gangsters, and thieves, and murderers,
Superfly.
and burglars, and con artists. Right. They became what was idolized as
Iceberg
rap
Slim.
music digressed from talking about love, working hard, frustrations with life, and how to face it, into glorifying
all
the
the
dysfunction
Dolomite
as well.
movies, all that shit.
And we get here today where
The
after
Mac.
50 years we have had a concerted campaign to emasculate the country and destroy the traditional nuclear family, starting with
BLM.
black folk first, since black men were looked at as exemplars of physical masculinity. So you take them down, and you use the selfishness of some who are in the entertainment industry who make money. Tyler Perry, some of the rap artists who exploited the same kind of thing, and you got the emasculation game going, and young white guys like to emulate black guys because they think black youth are hyper masculine, and you get the rap video, gangster hip hop rap video. It's supposed to have men in charge of a bunch of sexy women, but the truth of the matter is what's bouncing around half naked is not a sexual fantasy. It's the rap artist grandmama, his aunts, his mama, and their friend girls who would be hanging on the back stoop in the projects half naked during the summer, drinking a 40 ounce and smoking a joint, trying to...
Brings up a good point, because you have to question whether those individuals that are dancing, prancing around and, little to no clothing are actually females. Just putting that out there.
Get laid, get knocked up, and get another or bigger check. So it's a poisonous situation, and people are exploiting this right now, and the Democratic Party has become part of this whole thing. In fact, I would suggest that you look up the Black Caucus, Congressional...
Hate to bring it up, but someone made a good argument for this way back in the day, in the early 60s. All right? When they gave the speech on the wolf and the fox, and I'm talking about Malcolm X. See, neither one of them are for us, but but they just have different methodologies, different methods for how they deal with us. All right, that fox, of course, we can associate that with Amalek. All right, so-called liberal. All right, they like to be all up in your face, thinking they're cool with you. They win your trust and they give you all this rope. And that's what they've done. And the other side, you got the wolf, and you got these motherfuckers. They let you know, like everybody said with Trump. You know where he stands. You know how he feels, because, he puts it out there. And those like him.
Black Caucus, and you look at their official publication and the pictures of their membership. Try to get one about a year old, because they've been taking down the white people that are members of the Black Caucus. And they're also trying to disassociate themselves with the Liberty Caucus, which is also known as the LGBTQIA+ Congressional Caucus. And you will find that just about every single member of the Black Caucus is a member of that one. And if you go back, and you can get requested reports from the Congressional Record that keeps track of such things, look at the voting records of the Black Caucus, and you'll find that in the last 35 years or so, they've introduced absolutely nothing that is for the good of black people, but mostly all for the good of the LGBTQIA+ crowd that they're also members of the caucus for. So that's where we are right now.
Judge, that would...
Zechariah chapter 11, verse 5, oldie but goodie. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. All right, now we know this about the so-called white man. He don't give a shit. And they that sell them say, blessed be the Most High, for I am rich. And that's what we were brought over here for. All right. And their own shepherds, those elected officials, he mentioned the Congressional Black Caucus, the CBC, or talkers as I like to call them, because that's all they do. And others have pointed out, when you look at their charter, it's like they're for everybody else but us. And all these other groups, so-called Hispanics and whatever have you, their charter is, they specifically state, this is for our people. So clearly, the target has always been, with Jake here in America, everybody gets the word. You don't do nothing for them people. Look what happened recently out in California with the Governor Gavin Newsom and the Jake legislatures out there, the state legislatures, sabotaged their own. Man. Woo. But what they did it in such a way that I think I said this in one of my last videos. They did it in such a way as to spare the governor the shame of having to veto that reparations bill if it were to come across his desk. It didn't even make it to his desk. Goddamn shame. It really is. So these are the people that you think you choose to represent you. All right, but I let you in on a little secret. These people have been groomed. These universities, colleges, whatever. All right, these are, what do you call that? These are places where they select the sellouts from amongst our people. See, you're not going there so where you can help your own people. No, you're helping with that second-rate education that you're actually getting. Some say third-rate. You're assisting him in oppressing your own people. Yeah, that's the way it works.
That was a masterpiece of a quick history lesson to connect where we are today and to look back to see how all of this started. I talk a lot on my channel about masculine exceptionalism, and I am so challenged with just trying to understand, how did we get here? Obviously, as a Christian podcaster, I talk about the spiritual component of it. However, there is a specific historical context that needs to be explored, and I think you did a masterful job of laying that out for us. So it sounds like, in summary, what you're saying is that the Democratic Party as we know it, I'd like to quote a good friend of mine who Vince Everett Ellison calls them a cabal of psychopaths and perverts and liars and anti-Christian bigots, and it seems as if you would echo in that same sentiment. So the question is, masculine exceptionalism is such a lost art, and we don't see a lot of it today. And I would consider you one of, like I said, the lone bastion of men who are willing to just speak forth what is true, to demystify all of the lies that we're hearing out in the marketplace, and to teach your people this is how.
Remember what I said about 2 Corinthians? Well, that applies to us. All right, and whether she knows that she's one of these, I don't know much about her, because as someone usually, every now and then, I've used videos from this site, but other than that, I never got into, let's see, 2 Corinthians 10 and verse 4. It says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Yahweh Shah to the pulling down of strongholds." Remember what I said about not being carnal? Because you're never going to win that game. This is, he was set up, Romans, this is this is set up by the Most High. All right, 5, casting down imaginations. All right, let's go into that word, imaginations. Casting down imaginations. That's Strong's G 3053. Logismos. Computation, that is reasoning. All right. Thought. All right. And we all know his thoughts, because it tells you that in 2 Corinthians 11, and I'll get that next. Whoops. How did that happen? All right, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, which they stated earlier. This is what these people do. How spiteful they are when it comes to, they got these things teaching your kids early in school. Come reading to them these transformers. All right, everything that's that's Proverbs 22:6. Rear up a child in the way you should go, and they're on the left hand side doing that. All right, passing these laws that allow them to do that and to get away with it. And if you protest or resist, they got things for that too. Psalms 94:20, Isaiah 10:1. All right, that's why this place has got to go. It says, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Hamashiach Yahushua. So this is where we're at now. Everything's coming to a head, especially with this election. Oh, it's about to get wow.
That's how we got here. Since you brought up this new religion of the LGBTQIA, the rainbow.
The rainbow cult.
Okay, the rainbow cult. This is my first time hearing that the Congressional Black Caucus is also members of, you called it the Liberty Caucus.
Listen to this.
Is that the caucus
of
individuals who are pushing?
Wow. That is the name for the LGBTQIA caucus. You'll also find some other interesting things. There are a lot of white members of the Black Caucus as well. As a matter of fact, one of the most interesting things is it touches on a black subject, reparations. The Black Caucus has a reparations committee. Until I started jumping them about it a few months ago, they published it, had the pictures up, and it was interesting who the chairman of the Black Caucus's reparations committee was.
Please enlighten us. Who is that?
That individual happens to be the congressman for the 9th Congressional District here in Tennessee, which is Memphis, Tennessee. He's gay, he's white, and he's Jewish. So the chairman of the Black Caucus's reparations committee is gay, white, and Jewish. And he was also chairman of the Liberty Caucus.
And you know what this goes back to, because you, Jake, just don't get it. You fell for this shit about being free and all this, but all this goes back to the slave codes and everything, about how one of them had to be, when we were all in groups, one of them had to be monitoring us. The founding of the NAACP, those assholes, and he's going to touch on that. You have a people, and whoever views this, I know you're not going to believe me, but another thing that we're out here, we're trying to get people to understand that these people are frauds. They're over in our land, all right, the land of Israel. And we're in the position that we're in because we are being punished. We are being chastised, like I said. So these people are being allowed to do what they do, but it's coming to a close. Their end is, they know that that it's coming. Revelation 12 chapter, all right, verse 12. And you're seeing things being sped up now. Hopefully you see, all right, but, and this is why, because they know their time is up and they're trying to, get as many Jake as they can, because at the end of the day, this is it for them. What was that movie? It's as good as it gets, and this is as good as it's ever going to get for them. All right, Isaiah 14:21, amongst other scriptures, but that one in particular, because Isaiah 14 chapter, so many Christians think that's talking about, the spiritual demon, so-called Lucifer, and it's not. It's talking about a people. It's talking about a man. It's talking about a people. All right, as in human adversary. All right, so let's go ahead and let him. Oh man, this is some wild shit. So at all points, they try to cover their bases, and they try to have their hand in everything that involves us. So it's not. You think this is an accident to where Jake can't, because of the curses, everything Jake look at, like, prime example of what's going on now with Diddy. He's done, regardless of what happens with, I say regardless, but haven't you noticed all these Jakes that so-called established, and you got to understand what's going on. Well, you won't believe us when we tell you this, but there's all kinds of shit going on behind the scenes. All right, there's reasons they're in the position that they're in, and when they bite the hand that feeds them, this is what happens. Michael Jackson, Prince, and others. So many others. Why do you think you have a bunch of artists that were only, one-hit wonders? Because they refuse to play this game, this wicked-ass game.
The Reparations Committee. They have one too. Now, about 6 years ago, you saw this big brouhaha where the Democrats in the Black Caucus and the Democrats had 2 weeks worth of a clown show where they had hearings on whether or not to have a study of reparations. They never have
What was all of that
introduced
about?
any legislation. That was a clown show because they were preparing it for their real aim, which was 2 weeks later, pass on the first vote count, on voice vote, without debate, was, guess what? An act-style quote. The Gay Reparations Act, unquote.
This is some fucked up shit.
It wasn't anything but chump change initially, but it's open-ended. It started with $58 million, and what the subject was supposed to be is recompense, reparations to gay couples that had been denied insurance benefits because they were supposed to be discriminated against. So every single person that is, I think maybe there were 2 or 3 that weren't part of this, that's a member of the Black Caucus, co-sponsored the gay reparations bill, which is still wide open for further funding. So what time is this when we start looking at it? It is inappropriate, and it is a sellout. Look at another thing they're claiming credit for. The Emmett Till anti-lynch bill. Well, first off, besides the subject matter denoting something that's useless, because it is murder, and we do have enough statutes on everybody's book to deal with the various and sundry degrees of murder and other types of homicide.
Right.
And the fact that according to the Tuskegee Institute that's been studying these things for 100 years, there hasn't been a real lynching since 1964.
Right.
And
so why the heck would they introduce some sort of legislation like that? Why would we need that?
I'm going to tell you. Because it has nothing to do with a lynching. Now, a lynching is a mob going after somebody and killing them, right?
Yes.
It's usually, in our mind's eye, a Klan mob going after somebody black and lynching them. But don't forget those 1940 movies, the black and white ones, where the sheriff says, boys, ain't nobody gonna break into my jail and hang this man. He gonna get a fair trial before we hang him. Go through due process. So a lot of white folk got lynched, especially on the frontier. But, the Emmett Till anti-lynch bill does not require a mob. 1.
Listen to this
2,
shit.
It doesn't require killing. 3,
so how's it a lynching bill?
3, it can be a kidnapping. And 4, it can be a beating. In other words, it is set up because of something unique. It's the first time in American federal criminal law where they interject sexual orientation as a specific category of victim. Now, what you have in a crime, in other words, let's say a guy broke up with his girlfriend. He goes out with his homeboys and they go to a club and he's dancing. He's getting a little full of it because he's feeling down and he's dealing with a PYT, pretty young thing in a tight skirt, hoop earrings, long braids, and all of this. And they're exchanging spit somewhere in the shadows. And he looks down and Miss Thing has got an erection. He goes, "Whoa, what in the world are you?"
Right.
And he busted in the jaw and maybe he splits the lip. That's now federal lynching.
What?
Keep telling
Judge.
you. And this is what
Wait
you,
a minute.
Jake,
Let me
signed off
this
on.
for the audience. What Judge Joe Brown is saying, they're at a club and the gentleman who thinks he's dancing with a female discovers that this female is a biological male, and the knee-jerk reactional response from the male is to off her in the face because it's like, whoa,
bam,
what is this? Right.
That's federal lynching.
That is considered federal lynching where there's no rope involved, there's no murder, and there's no mob. So this new definition of quote-unquote hate crime has been established using the name of Emmett Till. Wow.
Yeah, and I've talked to Dr. Clenora Hudson Weems quite a bit. In fact, we chat once or twice a week. She's a friend of mine. I've known her for 30 years. Emmett Till's mother introduced me to Dr. Weems about 30-some years ago, and I used to talk to Emmett Till's mother. And they would be highly insulted with this bill, with the way it is. So it's absolutely astonishing how we got bamboozled, where they are going back to the black communities or any other community where they happen to be elected, and they're telling the black folk, we did something for you. We got a federal lynching bill to protect black folk like it's needed. The night riding statutes.
How many times have we tried to tell you that all this shit, all right, that was supposed to be for us, all right, whose situation is unique, has been twisted, and the only people that have benefited from it. Look at the Civil Rights Act. Who benefited from that? The white woman and these folks here, the Rainbow Mafia. And they keep just throwing it in Jake's face. And Jake just, oh boy, we got to get the fuck up out of here. It's an insult. It's a direct insult. And it's meant to be. It's not a coincidence. It's not by happenstance. The disrespect. My good. Oh boy.
That are dating from the 1870s. I mean, for goodness sakes, what do you want? So we did all this for you, but nobody reads it. Or it's like Obamacare. You give Obama a lot of care for the medical stuff. Obama did not draft it. He had absolutely nothing.
Who they pushed on you. All right. And wow, someone that looks like me. Not fully understanding what the fuck was going on. So you get behind this individual who is not our people, by the way. He is an actual Hamite, which our people never were. So you get this guy elected thinking he's going to do something with you, and who he's married to is still out, you know. The jury is out on that. I mean, it's very plain to us, but what does he do when he gets in office? What he was put there to do in the first place. Now you got, as he's going to tell you, you got, all this Pride Month and all this shit now. Our people are just, oh boy.
Nothing to do with it until his trust fund out of Indonesia invested heavily in Blue Cross. The grandson of one one of the Blue Cross founders, a Dr. Bill Frist of Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, I think he was a doctor. Yeah, he is. He was. I remember him. But I was just thinking about when I mentioned Obama, and I remember when he was first campaigning, and I can't remember, was it the Democratic National Convention? But you had a lot of jakes with signs up in the stands saying, "Don't elect this guy," talking about Obama. And they were trying to say, "Don't vote, oh no," and they got ushered out of security. I remember that.
Tennessee, who was Republican Senate Majority Leader, drafted what is known as Obamacare in 2003. He couldn't get it passed. But when Obama's trust fund invested heavily in Bill Frist family business, which
that
is
goes
Blue
over
Cross,
a lot of people's heads,
then Obama got interested in it. It was an Indonesian trust fund, so American law couldn't touch it. And Obama supported it, and it was adopted in 2010, and Bill Frist promptly resigned because now his family is guaranteed to be billionaires for the next few generations.
Right.
And it does need to be changed, but see, we stupidly go along, black man came up with this, and evil white Trump and evil white folk, they trying to destroy it. No, if you get into it, it's horrible. Let me talk about that. Well, you got told two lies straight up by Kamala Harris Imhoff, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. She said insulin was capped out at $38 a month. That's a lie, because I'm a type 2 diabetic, and I know what I have to spend for it, and I'm 77 years old. She said a senior's medical bills, his costs will top out at $2,000. That's an even worse lie. Last year, I had Blue Cross. It was through SAG-AFTRA, and I paid $1,670 a year for it, and I had about 2,500 max on co-pays. Mm-hmm. You know what my Medicare expense is? It's $14,700 a year for Medicare. And so far this year, I've spent almost $8,000 in copay on medication. So somebody's lying to the public. Now, why do we say Kamala Harris? And by the way, Kamala is the name of a pagan goddess for the Hindu faith. All right? It's their business, but it is the name of a goddess.
Right.
Now, why is it Harris instead of Mrs. Imhoff? It's Mrs. Clinton, Mrs. Palin, Sarah Palin, Mrs. Nancy Pelosi. It was Mrs. Gloria Feinstein. Why is it that we have no mention?
If your signal recovers.
Okay, do you have me?
I do. You were talking about why is she Mrs. Harris and not Imhoff?
Miss Harris is Imhoff. Is it to keep us from knowing she's married to somebody Jewish, adopted his two Jewish children when they were teenagers, not infants? Is it to keep us from knowing she joined the Hillcrest Jewish Country Club in Los Angeles? It's got a horrible relationship with black folk. What's going on here? See, that kind of thing is absolutely horrible, and we need to know about it. Nothing wrong with Jewish people, but what's the game plan here?
Other than them being frauds?
We've got enough of it. So I'm going to leave that with you guys to discuss, and I've got to go on and do my own show, so I'm going to duck out and go there. All right?
Awesome. Well, I am just grateful that you came by and dropped us a little knowledge, and I will be discussing the rest of this with my audience. Judge Joe Brown, thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope you have a wonderful show, and you are always welcome here on the Sanders Shoe Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into this.
So there you have it. All right. A lot of information. So I made sure I downloaded this, all right, and you know how these devils do. All right, so yeah, this is why we telling you, Jake. This is how they've managed to mentally, because like I said, no president has ever done anything for us. People fall for that Emancipation Proclamation bullshit, and that's what it was. All right, you were never free. We were never free. This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. All right, this is this 2-party system. They say they got more, but you know, the Green Party and what was that other one he just said? Libertarian. You know, no. When have you seen them go anywhere? All right. I always say we should, if we were to do this, I say if, none of it's going to matter, but we should have used the strategy of played the independent part. What are you going to do for us? Make them come to us as a voting bloc. But no. You know, if you remember the what Lyndon Baines Johnson did, probably, you know, but this was all strategy on their part. All right. What was his comment? I'll have niggers voting Democrat for the next, was it 200 or 300 years? All right. So, and then they blatantly, with this shit going on now with the immigration on steroids now, this is all done to try to get, you know, to play Jake against, because them people coming across the southern border, the majority, I should say, the northern kingdom are our people, the so-called Hispanics. All right. Now you have other things coming across there. You know, they might be a few of them, because at the end of the day, this is about what? Judgment. All these people are coming here, whether they know it or not, and chances are they don't. This is about judgment. Remember what I said earlier about America being that sacrifice. All right, and that's exactly what it is. All right, this place will not be inhabited anymore after what's coming. And it's close. If you're paying attention to what's going on over there in Western Asia, the so-called Middle East, oh, it's hot. It's really hot. And who knows? We still may not have an election. All right, because it's clear they do not want this guy, Trump, to get in office. Or at least it appears that way. All right. Hey, so once again, whoever views this, I hope that you are or have been edified in this. Whoops, I hit the wrong thing there. Hold on. All right, let's see. Yeah, this has been the Standard of Truth podcast. All right, Judge exposes new religious movement, and we know what that is now. All right. All right, so until the next video, hey, shalom.